The sun had already gone down, and the city lights were coming alive one by one. It was a cold evening, the kind that made people walk faster, hug their jackets tighter, and hurry home. Oh, but Marcus wasn't like the others. He walked slowly, each step heavier than the last. His boots were old, the soles worn out from long hours of work. His back hurt, his hands hurt. His heart hurt the most. Marcus was a black single dad, and life had not been kind to him. The bills were stacked on the kitchen table like a small mountain. Lily's medicine was expensive, the rent was late, and the landlord had already warned him twice. Still, Marcus walked home, carrying the weight of every problem on his shoulders. Tonight felt different, though. There was a strange heaviness in the air. Something pulled his eyes toward the old river bridge ahead of him. 'Twas a place most people avoided at night. Twin there was sharp, the water below dark and unforgiving. Many sad stories had begun and at first he thought it was a normal passerby, maybe someone watching the water, maybe someone making a phone call. His chest tightened. The shadow wasn't just standing. The shadow was leaning forward. Marcus stopped walking. His heartbeat jumped like someone had grabbed it. He knew what he was seeing. He knew what that posture meant. He wasn't far. This time he was the closest person. He swallowed hard, his breath visible in the cold air. Please, not tonight. He didn't want to scare the person. One wrong move, one loud noise, and it could all be over. As he approached, the wind carried a soft sound toward him, a sound that shook him deep inside. A girl was crying. Not loud, not dramatic. A soft, broken cry. The kind that came from a heart that no longer had the strength to fight. Marcus felt a pain in his chest. He didn't know the girl, but her sorrow felt familiar. He knew what hopelessness sounded like. He had heard it in his own mind many times on nights when Lily was coughing non-stop, when the electricity bill came in again, when he had no food except a half loaf of bread. Still, Marcus walked closer. The girl was standing right at the edge of the bridge, her hands trembling as she held the railing. Her hair blew wildly in the wind. Her shoulders were shaking. She was young, maybe no older than 22 or 23. Too young to give up. Too young to throw away her entire life. Marcus's voice came out before he had time to think. Don't jump. The girl froze. She didn't look back. She didn't speak. But she didn't move forward either. Marcus took a gentle step, then another. He could see her breathing fast. He could see her fingers tightening around the cold metal railing. He could see tears falling onto the bridge floor. He didn't know what to say next. He had no training, no right words, no plan. He was just a man coming home from work, a man barely holding his own life together. But he knew one thing. If he walked away now, he would never forgive himself. The girl finally spoke, her voice small and shaking. Please, go away. Her words cut through him like a knife. Not because they were rude, but because they were. Filled with a kind of pain he recognized too well, Marcus shook his head slowly. I can't do that, he said softly. Not while you're standing there. She laughed weakly, the sound bitter and empty. You don't even know me. Marcus stepped closer, his hands open, showing he meant no harm. You're right, he said. I don't know you, but I can see you're hurting, and I know what that feels like. The girl sniffed, still refusing to turn around. No, you don't. You don't know anything. Marcus took a deep breath. Maybe not. But I do know what it's like to stand somewhere and feel like you can't take another step. I know what it feels like when life keeps hitting you again and again. The girl's shoulders dropped slightly. Marcus could tell she was listening. He looked up at the dark sky. What's your name? He asked softly. She shook her head. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, Marcus replied gently. Names always matter. A long pause filled the air. Only the wind and the sound of the river below moved. Then, quietly, the girl whispered, "Emily." Marcus felt something shift inside him. "Emily," he repeated calmly. "My name is Marcus." Another small moment passed. Then Emily said something that made Marcus's blood run cold. "I'm tired, Marcus. I can't fight anymore." Marcus stepped forward now, only a few feet behind her. "And I'm tired too, Emily," he admitted. "But maybe we don't have to fight alone." Emily's grip on the railing loosened for the first time. Marcus reached out his hand, not touching her, not grabbing her, just offering it. "Come back," he whispered. "Please." The moment felt frozen. Emily leaned forward just a little. Then the bridge shook with a sudden gust of wind. Emily's foot slipped. Marcus's heart stopped. This was the moment. Everything would change. Emily's foot slipped, and for a split second, time felt like it stopped. The wind roared, the river rushed below, and her body tilted forward dangerously. Her scream never came out, only the sound of air leaving her lungs. Marcus didn't think. He moved, his tired legs, which had carried him through long shifts and sleepless nights, suddenly felt like they belonged to someone else. Someone faster, someone stronger. He lunged forward and grabbed the back of Emily's coat, just the corner, just enough. But the coat slid through his fingers. "No, no, no," he whispered as panic rose in his chest. Emily's shoe slipped, completely off the edge. She was going to fall, with every last bit of strength. Marcus reached again, this time catching her wrist hard. Her whole body jerked back, and she gasped loudly. Emily hung half over the railing, one slip away from death, her legs kicking weakly in the air. Marcus's arm stretched painfully, pulled by her weight. His fingers burned, but he tightened his grip. "I got you," he shouted, breath shaking. "Emily, I got you to let go." Emily's other hand flailed, trying to grab something, anything. Her eyes were wide, filled with shock and fear. "I can't, Marcus, I can't hold on," she cried. "Yes, you can," he yelled, louder than he meant to. "Look at me." Emily didn't look. Her head hung down, staring at the dark water below. Tears dropped from her face into the river, disappearing instantly. Marcus's muscles trembled. He wasn't a strong man. He was exhausted, hungry, worn out. His whole body screamed at him to stop, to let go. But he couldn't. Not this time. Not this person. "Emily," he said again, softer. "Please look at me." Emily slowly raised her head, and for the first time, their eyes met. In her eyes, Marcus saw something raw, sadness, and somewhere deep inside, a tiny spark of life. "Good," Marcus whispered. "Now give me your other hand." Emily reached upward, shaking. Her cold fingers touched his for a moment, slipped, then touched again. Marcus leaned dangerously over the railing, stretching himself further than he should. His arm burned like fire, but he didn't care. "Come on," he urged. "Take it. I won't drop you." It's time. Emily's hand finally locked around his dot. Marcus let out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. "Okay," he said. "Now I'm pulling you up. It's going to hurt, but stay with me." Emily nodded weakly. Marcus used every ounce of strength he had left. He pulled. His legs shook violently. His back felt like it would snap in half. But slowly, inch by inch, Maya rose. Her knee hit the railing first. Marcus took the chance and pulled harder, dragging her over until she fell onto the bridge floor with a painful thud. Marcus collapsed beside her, chest rising and falling like he had run a marathon. For a moment, neither spoke. The only sound was their heavy breathing and the cold wind swirling around them. Emily rolled onto her back, staring at the cloudy night sky. Her tears kept falling, but she wasn't crying because of sadness anymore. She was crying because she was alive. Marcus sat up slowly. His arms were shaking, his pulse racing. He looked at Emily, and she looked at him. "You okay?" he asked gently. Emily closed her eyes and nodded. I think so." Marcus let out a tired laugh. "You scared the life out of me." Emily gave a small, shaky smile. "Sorry." Silence again, soft, fragile, uncomfortable. Marcus finally stood up and reached out his hand. Emily stared at it for a second before taking it. He helped her sit up. "Why did you save me?" she whispered. Marcus looked away, the question hitting deeper than she knew. "Because I know what it's like to feel like nobody would care if you disappeared." Emily lowered her head. "I didn't think anyone would stop me." Marcus glanced at the water. "If I was 5 minutes earlier, or 5 minutes later, I wouldn't have been here." Emily looked at him again, eyes wide. "You think this was meant to happen?" Marcus shrugged. "I don't know. But I'm glad I got here when I did." Emily hugged her knees and shivered. "I was so sure no one would notice. No family, no friends. Reason to stay." Marcus sat beside her. "You don't need a reason to stay alive, Emily. Sometimes you stay alive long enough to find the reason later." Emily took a shaky breath. "That sounds too wise for a man who looks like he hasn't slept in a week." Marcus laughed quietly. "You're not wrong." Emily looked at him closer now. The exhaustion in his eyes, the work uniform, the old shoes, the hands rough from labor. "You're struggling too, aren't you?" she asked gently. Marcus didn't answer immediately. He just stared at the river. Then he said softly, "Yeah, I'm struggling a lot." Emily bit her lip. "Then why help me? Why risk yourself?" Marcus looked at her again, the girl he had just pulled back from the edge. The stranger who somehow felt familiar in her sadness. "Because if I walked away," he whispered, "I'd feel responsible for the rest of my life." Emily blinked, stunned by the honesty in his voice. Marcus stood up and extended his hand again. "Come on, let's get away from the edge." Emily hesitated, then placed her hand in his once more. He pulled her up gently, and together they walked away from the cold wind and the dangerous railing. Emily kept close to him not because she trusted him completely, but because for the first time in a long time, someone had held on to her when she was slipping, and Marcus. He couldn't explain it, but saving Emily didn't just rescue her. It felt like it rescued a part of him, too. The walk from the bridge was silent at first. Emily kept her eyes on Sable. Emily kept her eyes on the ground, her hands tightly wrapped around her sleeves like she was holding herself together. Marcus walked beside her, a little ahead, giving her space but staying close enough to catch her again if anything happened. Every few seconds, Emily looked at his side profile. She wasn't sure why, but something about Marcus made her feel safe. Not perfectly safe, just enough to keep walking instead of turning back toward the river. Marcus stopped when they reached a bench under a broken streetlight. The light flickered above them, on again, like it couldn't decide if it wanted to help them or leave them in the dark. "You want to sit?" Marcus asked, and Emily nodded. They sat down at opposite ends, a small distance between them. Emily hugged her knees, her chin resting on top. Marcus didn't force a conversation. He didn't ask questions. He just let the silence breathe, like he understood her mind needed time. After a long minute, Emily finally spoke. "You're not going to call the police, right?" Marcus shook his head. "Not unless you want me to." Emily sighed in relief. "You saved my life. I don't want strangers asking questions right now." Marcus turned toward her. "You don't have to tell me anything. I'm just glad you're safe." But Emily shook her head slowly. "No, You deserve to know why I was there. You risked a lot for me. A normal person would have walked away. Marcus let out a tired smile. I'm not a normal person. Emily studied him quietly. There was something heavy in his eyes, like he carried a story too. One he wasn't ready to share yet. She took a shaky breath. My life wasn't always like this, she began. I wasn't always. Standing on bridges. Her voice cracked. Marcus stayed silent, letting her continue. I used to have a good life, Emily said. Not rich, but peaceful. I had a foster family, and they were kind. They raised me well. But when I turned 18, they said it was time to be independent. Marcus frowned gently. They just let you go like that. Emily nodded. That's how the system works. Once you're 18, you're an adult. I moved to the city for a job and a fresh start. She wiped her eyes. It went well for a while. I worked at a bookstore. I loved books. I loved quiet places. I loved helping people find stories that made them feel less alone. Marcus watched her closely. But something happened. He guessed softly. Emily gave a small, bitter laugh. Something always happens, right? She took a moment before speaking again. I met someone. A man. He acted like he cared about me. He promised he would help me build a better life. And I believed him. I trusted him. Marcus's hands curled into fists. What did he do? Emily stared at the ground. He took everything. My money, my savings, even my documents. He left me with nothing. One morning, I woke up and he was just gone. Marcus felt anger tighten in his chest. People like that always found the most vulnerable hearts. Emily continued, voice cracking. I had to leave my apartment. I had no money to pay rent. I slept in shelters, sometimes on train stations. I tried to get my documents back, but without ID, nobody cares. Marcus exhaled slowly. He understood too well how cruel the world could be. So you thought you had no other choice, he said. Emily nodded. I thought my life didn't matter anymore. I thought maybe the world would be better if I disappeared quietly. Marcus clenched his jaw. You were wrong. Emily looked up at him for the first time since they sat down, her eyes red, tired, and full of questions. Why? She whispered. Why does it matter to you whether I disappear or not? Marcus looked at her for a long moment. The wind blew softly, rustling the leaves around their feet. Finally, he spoke. Because someone saved me once, he said quietly, not from a bridge, but from myself. Emily blinked, surprised. What do you mean? Marcus looked away, staring at the empty street. There was a time I felt like you. A time when everything felt too heavy, when I didn't see any reason to keep going. But then, my daughter was born. Emily's eyes softened. You have a daughter, Marcus. Nodded. She saved me without even knowing it. She became my reason to wake up, my reason to work, my reason to try again. Emily slowly sat up straighter. What's her name? Lily, Marcus said, and for the first time, a genuine smile touched his face. She's the strongest little girl I know, and she needs me. That's why I didn't give up. Emily swallowed. So you saved me because someone once saved you. Marcus shrugged gently. You could say that, or maybe I saved you because I know how it feels to be invisible. Emily stared at him, tears forming once again. No one has ever said that to me, she whispered. No one ever looked at me like I mattered. Marcus looked at her with quiet sincerity. You matter, Emily. You mattered before I met you. And you'll matter tomorrow too. Emily's face crumpled, and she covered her mouth, crying softly. This time, they weren't the hopeless cries from the bridge. These were cries from a heart slowly remembering it was still alive. Marcus let her cry. No touching, no comforting words. Just silence, the safe kind. After a moment, Emily wiped her face. "Thank you," she said softly. "But I don't know what to do now. I have nowhere to go." Marcus stood up and offered his hand again. "You can come with me," he said calmly. "Meet Lily. Rest a little. Eat something. Not forever, just tonight. Just to breathe." Emily hesitated, but then she reached out and placed her hand in his as they walked together under the flickering streetlight. One thing became clear. Emily was not the only one carrying secrets. And Marcus, he had a few of his own that he was still afraid to face. The night grew quieter as Marcus and Emily walked through the narrow streets. Streetlights hummed softly above them, flickering like tired guardians. The world felt half asleep, but inside Marcus's mind, everything was loud to loud. Emily walking beside him felt unreal, as if he was carrying a fragile spirit instead of a living human. Emily moved slowly, almost cautiously, like she wasn't used to walking beside someone anymore. She kept glancing at Marcus, not to study him, but to make sure he was still there, as if she feared he might vanish the moment she blinked. "Are we close?" she asked softly. "Yeah," Marcus replied. "Just a few more blocks." Emily nodded and hugged her arms tighter around herself. She wasn't cold, she was scared. Scared of entering someone's life. Scared of being a burden. Yet something about Marcus made her feel strangely grounded. As they turned into his neighborhood, the buildings became smaller and older. Paint chipped off the walls. Windows had cracks. A stray cat watched them from a half-broken fence. "It's not much," Marcus said quietly, noticing her look around. "But it's home." Emily smiled weakly. "Homes don't need to be perfect." Marcus paused for a second at her words. There was something familiar about the way she said it, like she had once believed the same thing as a child. Finally, they reached a small, worn-out apartment building. Marcus unlocked the main door, which made a loud creak. "Sorry," he muttered. "It's been like that forever." Emily shook her head. "It's okay." They walked up a narrow staircase until they reached a door with peeling numbers to be. Marcus opened it slowly. The apartment was dim, warm, and filled with soft clutter that showed life-tiny shoes near the couch, a stack of coloring books, a small pink blanket folded neatly. Emily stepped inside cautiously and stopped. The apartment didn't look like a place where sadness lived. It looked like a place where someone really tried to make things work. "I should warn you," Marcus said with a tired smile. "My daughter Lily is a night owl." As if on cue, a small cough came from the bedroom. Marcus instantly softened. His shoulders relaxed, his eyes warmed, and his voice lowered, as if he had stepped into another version of himself, the gentle father version. "Let me check on her," he said. "Make yourself comfortable." Emily nodded and looked around the living room. Her eyes stopped on a small family photo on the table. Marcus, it's a younger version of Lily, and a woman with warm eyes and a beautiful smile. Emily froze. She picked up the frame gently. The woman looked familiar. Not the same face. Not exactly. But something about her eyes, her expression echoed inside Emily like an old memory. She could almost touch. Before she could think more, Marcus returned from the bedroom. "She's asleep," he said softly. "That's rare." Emily carefully placed the frame back. "She's beautiful," she said. Marcus smiled. And it was the kind of smile that only a parent could make, half pride, half exhaustion. "Thank you." He walked to the tiny kitchen. "You want tea? Or water?" "Tea is fine," Emily replied. While he boiled water, Emily walked toward Lily's bedroom door and peeked in. Lily slept, curled up like a small kitten, holding her stuffed bear. A soft nightlight glowed next to her bed, casting warm colors across the room. For some reason, Emily felt a tug inside her chest. A strange mix of tenderness and sadness. Marcus returned with 2 cups of tea and sat on the old sofa. Emily joined him. For a few seconds, they didn't speak. Steam rose from their cups like quiet ghosts drifting upward. Then Marcus finally asked, "Do you feel a little better now?" Emily nodded slowly. "I don't know why, but your home feels peaceful." Marcus's eyebrows lifted slightly. "Peaceful? After everything you've been through tonight?" Emily gave a small smile. "I didn't say I was peaceful. Just, you're home." Her eyes wandered again to the family photo. Marcus noticed. "That was my wife," he said softly. "Her name was Anna." Emily swallowed. She looked kind. "She was," Marcus said. "She was the strongest person I ever met." Emily gently placed her hands around the warm teacup. "What happened to her?" Marcus stared at the table for a long moment before answering. "She got sick, and it happened fast. One day she was laughing and cooking breakfast, and 3 months later, tea didn't finish." Emily lowered her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. Marcus nodded, accepting the sympathy. "She loved Lily more than anything," he continued. "Sometimes I think Lily still waits for her." Emily's eyes softened. "That's why you looked tired," she said. "You've been trying to be both mom and dad." Marcus chuckled weakly. Trying is the right word. Silence settled again. But it wasn't uncomfortable. It was calm. Emily leaned back against the sofa and closed her eyes for a second. Her breathing slowed. Her shoulders finally relaxed. Marcus looked at her and felt something he hadn't felt in a long time, a strange pull. Not romantic, not attraction, something else, a recognition, like Emily was not completely a stranger. He didn't understand it. Not yet. But then Emily opened her eyes, looked at the family photo again, and spoke softly. "I feel like I've seen her before." Marcus turned sharply. "You knew Anna?" Emily shook her head quickly. "No, I don't think so. But her face, something about it feels familiar. I can't explain it." Marcus's heart skipped. He didn't know why, but those words unsettled him. He studied Emily's face in the warm living room light. Her features, her expressions, the sadness behind her eyes. For the first time, Marcus noticed something strange, something about Emily. Almost resembled Anna. Not exactly, just a trace, a whisper, a connection he didn't understand. Emily didn't notice Marcus staring at her. She just sipped her tea and whispered, Maybe I've been closer to family than I thought." Marcus didn't know how to respond, so he simply said, "We'll figure it out, one step at a time." Emily looked at him and nodded softly, but deep inside both of them, a quiet question had begun to grow. Who was Emily really? And why did fate bring her to Marcus's bridge? On that exact night, morning arrived quietly. The pale sunlight slipped through Marcus's thin curtains, painting soft gold patterns on the living room floor. Emily blinked awake on the sofa, her body stiff from sleeping in an unfamiliar place. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then she heard a tiny giggle. Emily lifted her head. A little girl with curly hair and big, wondering eyes stood beside the sofa, hugging a bear almost her size. "You're not Daddy," the girl said, tilting her head. Emily sat up slowly. "No, I'm Emily." The girl nodded like she was solving a mystery. "My name is Lily," she said proudly. "Daddy said you're our guest." Emily's heart warmed unexpectedly. Something about Lily's eyes, bright, curious, pure, made her chest soften. "Nice to meet you, Lily," Emily said gently. Lily stepped closer. She studied Emily like a tiny detective. Then she surprised Emily by placing the stuffed bear in her lap. "He keeps people safe," Lily said. "You look sad, so you can borrow him." Emily felt tears rise instantly. No one had given her anything in a long time, especially something that carried love. "Thank you," she whispered. Lily smiled and ran toward the kitchen. "Daddy." She's awake, and she likes Mr. Bear. Marcus's tired but warm voice answered, "Okay, Lily. Let her breathe first." Emily stood up and followed Lily toward the kitchen. Marcus was making breakfast eggs, toast, and something that smelled slightly burnt but comforting. "Morning," Marcus said, glancing at her with a soft smile. "Did you sleep okay?" Emily nodded. "Better than I expected." Lily climbed onto a chair. "Daddy makes crunchy eggs. They're not soft. He tries. But they're always crunchy." Marcus looked offended. "They are not crunchy. They're firm." Emily laughed quietly, a sound she hadn't heard from herself in a long time. They sat together at the small table. Lily talked about her dreams, her school, her favorite cartoons. Emily nodded, listening carefully. While Lily spoke, Emily's attention kept drifting to the family photo on the wall, that same picture of Marcus, Lily, and Anna, and every time she looked at it, her stomach tightened. That face, that smile, those eyes. Why did Anna feel familiar? After breakfast, Lily went to her room to draw. Marcus cleared the table while Emily washed the dishes. "You don't have to do that," Marcus said. Emily shook her head. "I want to help." Her voice was small but sincere. The kitchen fell silent for a moment. Then Emily spoke again, quietly. "Marcus, something feels strange." Marcus looked up. "What do you mean?" Emily dried her hands and turned around, her expression anxious. "That picture of Anna, I can't stop staring at it. I don't know who she is, but I feel like I've seen her before. Somewhere, somehow." Marcus leaned against the counter. "You told me that last night, but how would you know her?" Emily shook her head slowly. "I don't know. That's what scares me." Marcus crossed his arms thoughtfully. "Maybe she reminds you of someone from your childhood. Someone from the foster home." Emily paused. Her childhood, the blurry memories, the faces she never learned the names of, the files she never saw, the unanswered questions the system kept locked away. "I only remember bits of my childhood," Emily admitted. "Sometimes only flashes. It's a woman with kind eyes, someone humming a song, a red blanket." Marcus straightened. "Anna had a red blanket when she was young," he said softly. "Her mother made it for her." Emily froze. A chill ran through her arms. A red blanket, kind eyes, soft humming. She swallowed. "Marcus, what was Anna's mother like?" Marcus frowned a little. "She passed away years before I met Anna. Anna didn't talk about her much. She only said her mother died when she was a baby." I felt her knees weaken. A baby, a lost mother, a life broken before it began. Something inside, Emily whispered. "What if?" Before she could think more, Lily's small voice called from the living room. "Daddy, Emily. Look." They rushed out. Lily held a drawing, 3 people holding hands. "That's you," Lily said, pointing at Emily. "And that's Daddy. And that's me." Emily's throat tightened. "You put me in your family?" she asked softly. Lily nodded proudly. "Yeah, Daddy says guests are family for a while." Marcus looked away, embarrassed. "I didn't say it like that." Emily gently touched the drawing with trembling fingers. A strange feeling wrapped around her, deep warmth she didn't understand. Mixed with fear, she couldn't ignore. Family was she closer to a real one than she ever thought. Later, when Lily went for a nap, Marcus sat beside Emily on the couch. "You've been quiet," he said. Emily nodded, her eyes stuck on the drawing. "Marcus, today, sitting here with you and Lily, it felt like something fit. Like I belong here, and I don't understand why." Marcus studied her face. He saw confusion, fear, hope. He took a breath. "Emily, I feel it too." Emily's eyes shot too. "His? What do you mean?" Marcus hesitated, then said, "When I look at you, it feels like I've seen you before. Not in person, but somewhere deeper. You remind me of Anna. Not in how you looked, just something in your eyes. Something familiar." Emily's heart dropped. "I feel the same," she whispered. "But I don't know why." Marcus leaned closer, speaking gently. "Maybe your past isn't as lost as you think." Emily stared at him, her pulse racing. Her past, her identity, her family. All the questions she never asked, all the answers she never had, were suddenly knocking on the door of her mind. "Marcus," she whispered, "what if I'm connected? To your wife somehow? What if I'm connected to Lily?" Marcus didn't move. He didn't breathe. Because deep inside, he felt the same fear and the same hope. Emily held her hands together tightly. "I think my past is coming back, and it's coming through you." For the first time, Marcus didn't know whether to be afraid or grateful, because this wasn't just coincidence anymore. This was the beginning of a truth that would change all of them forever. Emily sat on the sofa long after Lily fell asleep for her afternoon nap. Her fingers kept brushing the drawing Lily made, the picture of them as a family. It felt warm in her hands, frightening in her chest. Marcus watched her from the kitchen doorway, unsure if he should speak or stay silent. Every movement Emily made seemed slow, careful, like her mind was walking through dark halls, searching for a door she had forgotten existed. Finally, Marcus stepped closer. "Emily, don't have to figure everything out today," he said. Softly, Emily looked up, her eyes trembling. "I know, but something inside me is waking up. And it scares me, Marcus. It scares me a lot." Marcus sat down beside her, not too close, but close enough that she felt grounded. "Tell me what you're thinking," he said gently. Emily closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "When I was 13, something strange happened at the foster home." Marcus listened carefully. "I found a folder, a thin one. It wasn't mine, but it had my name on the outside. I wasn't supposed to see it, but I opened it anyway." She paused, her voice shaking. There was a paper inside. Only one. It said, "Child abandoned at hospital. Mother deceased. No name, no signature. Nothing else." Marcus's brows drew together. "That's strange." Emily nodded. "I asked my foster mother about it. She said she didn't know anything except that I came from a hospital that no longer existed. She told me to forget it." Marcus felt a chill. Emily swallowed hard, but I never forgot. And when I saw Anna's face, something inside me whispered that I had seen that softness before. When I was too young to remember clearly, she touched her temples like the memories were pressing from the inside. What if Anna and I have the same mother? What if we're connected, Marcus? Marcus felt his heart thump louder. "That would mean your family." Emily nodded painfully. "And the idea scares me, because I've never had real family, not even for a day. What if I'm wrong? What if I'm just desperate?" Marcus took a deep breath. "Emily, I don't think you're imagining this. Too many things match." Emily's eyes widened. "You mean it?" Marcus nodded slowly. "Anna once told me she always felt like something was missing. She didn't know what, but she felt it in her bones." Emily's breath caught. "And you," Marcus continued, "you felt lost your whole life, like you were searching for something without knowing what." Emily's hands shook. She whispered, "Are you saying we might be family?" Marcus didn't answer right away. He looked at the family photo on the wall, Anna's warm eyes, Lily's bright smile, his own tired face. Then he looked at Emily. Her eyes were filled with fear, and hope, and pain. "I'm saying," Marcus said softly, "that it's possible. More possible than anything else." Emily felt her heart beat faster, almost painfully. She stood up suddenly and walked to Lily's room. Marcus followed her. She looked at Lily sleeping peacefully. "Marcus," she said quietly, "if Anna and I were sisters, that means Lily is your niece." Marcus finished gently. Emily put a hand over her mouth as tears filled her eyes. "My niece," she whispered. "I almost died without knowing I had her." Marcus stepped closer but didn't touch her. "Emily." "There's more." Her eyes turned to him, frightened. "What more?" Marcus hesitated. Anna used to talk about something, a strange memory from her childhood. She remembered a crying baby beside her. And she remembered someone saying, "This one doesn't belong here." Anna never understood what it meant. Emily's knees weakened. A crying baby. A hospital room. A missing piece. That baby. She whispered, "What if it was me?" Marcus exhaled slowly. "I thought nobody would ever look for me. And all this time, I might have had a sister." Marcus stepped closer. "You did. Anna would have loved you. I know that." Emily wiped her tears with trembling hands. "But she's gone," she whispered. "If she really was my sister, she's gone. I'll never get to know her." Marcus swallowed. "But you're here, and Lily is here. Anna would want you to be with the people she loved." Emily broke. She sobbed quietly, holding the edge of the doorframe for support. "I don't deserve a family." She cried softly. Marcus shook his head. "No, you deserve love. You deserve belonging. You deserve to know the truth." Emily wiped her face and looked into Lily's room again. "I want to know everything," she said. "I want to know who I am. I want to know who Anna was. I want to know why we were separated." Marcus nodded slowly. "We can search together." Emily turned her head. "You would help me." Marcus met her eyes. "You saved me too. Emily, you brought something back into this home that I thought was lost forever." Emily frowned softly. "What did I bring back?" Marcus gave a small, emotional smile. "Light." Emily covered her mouth again, overwhelmed. For the first time, she could feel it, her old, empty life cracking open. And, behind it, something bright trying to come through. A truth, a family. A beginning she never expected. But just as she began to breathe more steadily, there came a knock at the door, soft, slow, unexpected. Marcus and Emily both turned toward it. Their eyes met, and in that moment, they both felt it. The truth wasn't finished. Something, or someone, was waiting on the other side. The knocking came again, soft at first, then a little louder, as if the person behind the door was unsure whether to interrupt or disappear. Marcus exchanged a sharp glance with Emily. Neither moved. The apartment felt suddenly smaller, the air tighter. Even the ticking clock on the wall sounded too loud. "Stay here," Marcus whispered. Emily nodded nervously and stepped back. Marcus approached the door carefully. His instincts were sharp. Years of protecting Lily had trained him to be cautious, especially with strangers. He opened the door only a few inches. A woman stood outside. Older, maybe late 40s. Tired face, worried eyes, holding a folder in her hands. "Marcus Jones?" she asked quietly. Marcus froze. "Yes," he said slowly. "Who are you?" The woman glanced inside the apartment, then back at him. "I'm not here to bother you. I'm here about Emily." Marcus's heart dropped. "How do you know her?" he asked sternly. The woman's voice softened. My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm a retired social worker. I used to handle adoption files, including Emily's. Marcus's breath caught. Behind him, Emily gasped. The woman saw her and held a hand to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. Emily, you survived. Emily stepped forward shakily. You know me? She asked, voice trembling. Sarah nodded, eyes filling with tears she couldn't hold back. I looked for you for years, Emily. I never stopped. But the system lost track of you when the hospital burned down. All your records were destroyed. Emily's knees weakened. Marcus helped her sit on the arm of the sofa. Sarah walked in slowly and closed the door behind her. I'm sorry to break into your life like this, she said, but I couldn't wait any longer. I retired last month, and I wanted to make one last attempt to find you. Emily's voice shook. Why? Why me? Sarah opened the folder in her hands carefully, like it carried something fragile. There was something wrong with your adoption file, she said softly. Something that never made sense until now. She took out an old photograph. Marcus and Malay leaned in. The photo showed a young woman, too young to be a mother, holding two babies in her arms. Inside a hospital room, one baby had a tiny red blanket wrapped around them. Marcus's breath caught. Emily's fingers trembled as she picked up the photo. Is that me? She whispered. Sarah nodded, double quotes, yes. And the other baby was Anna. Emily's eyes widened. Her heart pounded in her ears. Anna, Marcus's late wife, Lily's mother. The missing piece of her life. Anna and you were born minutes apart, Sarah continued. Twins, identical, except for a small birthmark on Anna's shoulder. But your mother died during childbirth. The hospital panicked. They separated you by mistake. Anna was taken home by a distant relative. You were listed as unclaimed. Emily covered her mouth as tears streamed down her cheeks. All this time, Anna was my sister, she whispered. Marcus sat beside her. Unable to speak, Sarah nodded. I tried to reconnect you when I found the truth years ago, but Anna had already moved away, and your foster home wouldn't allow contact while you were under their care. Emily stared at the photo again, two babies sleeping peacefully, never knowing they were being torn apart. But why didn't anyone tell her? Emily cried. Why didn't Anna know I existed? Sarah lowered her eyes. The hospital hid their mistake. They were afraid of a lawsuit. Everything was covered up. Emily pressed her forehead into her hands. Marcus placed a steady hand on her shoulder, giving silent support. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Emily lifted her head, eyes swollen, voice cracking. So I lost her before I ever knew her. Sarah shook her head gently. No, look again. She handed Emily another item from the folder. A small, folded paper, yellowed with age. Touched by time, Emily opened it with shaking fingers. It was a note, handwritten, soft, flowing handwriting. If I ever find you, little sister, I'll never let you go. Emily gasped so loudly Marcus felt his chest hurt. The note fell into her lap as she cried harder. She knew. Emily whispered through tears. She knew I existed. She looked for me. Sarah nodded. Anna came to the adoption office when she was 21. She had learned the truth from her aunt before she passed. Anna begged to find you. She even wrote that note for your file. But you were already lost in the system. Emily's whole body shook. Marcus wrapped an arm around her as she collapsed into him. Sobbing, Sarah continued softly, her voice trembling too. Anna never stopped searching, even after she married Marcus. Even when Lily was born, she always believed you were alive. Emily's tears turned into soft, painful sounds. Marcus whispered, She always said something was missing. Now I know what it was. Emily clutched the note as if it was Anna's hand. Sarah wiped her own tears, then said, "I'm sorry you two didn't meet. But you still have the family Anna left behind." Emily looked at Lily's bedroom door. "My niece," she whispered. Marcus squeezed her hand. "And you have a home here, if you want it?" Emily looked up at him through tears. "You'd let me stay?" Marcus nodded. Double quotes, "Not because you need a place, but because you're part of our story now. You're part of Anna, and we're part of you." Emily closed her eyes, letting the truth sink deep into her heart. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone. She had roots. A sister who loved her even in death. A little niece sleeping in the next room. And a man who saved her life, only to discover she was meant to be part of his all along. Emily whispered into the quiet room, "I finally know who I am." Marcus smiled softly. "And who is that?" Emily looked at the photo in her hands, at the note Anna left, at the tiny drawing Lily made. She breathed in slowly. "I'm Emily, Anna's sister, Lily's aunt, and someone who wants to live." Marcus felt his chest warm. That's all Anna ever wanted. Emily leaned against him, exhausted but alive. Outside, the sun broke through the clouds, warm, golden light filling the small apartment. It felt like Anna was there too, smiling. Finally whole, and for the first time ever, Emily had a family worth living for.